The Bafang M560. It's smaller and lighter than the Ultra versions. It's similar to the M600, but with a smaller number, but with supposedly bigger power. Now, if you already have a bike with the prior M600 motor, that one was rated for 500 watts and I believe 120 Newton meters of torque. Well, this one's rated for even higher, 750 watts. I think this is kind of an ideal situation for this motor. We have this awesome custom-built commuter bike just to feature this specific motor, and it has narrower than all the other fat bikes we've tested so far tires that are running these nice, smooth Schwalbe street compound. They're the Moto X tires. They're gonna be a little bit lighter. They're gonna roll easier. So the question is, can a 750 watt mid-drive dethrone one of the bikes we've already tested? Let's find out. I've got more videos with much more detail on the dyno and exactly how it works. Brief testing parameters for you. The bike is fully charged. This is a 48 volt battery. It's sitting at the max of 54 volts right now. These tires are rated for a max of 55 PSI, which is where I have it set. So once I start recording on the dyno software, here's where you want to watch for the horsepower or the watts. We're measuring this in kilowatts. Torque. The number to beat is 38 foot-pounds. I have no idea where this motor is going to come in. This is the speed, just so you have an idea of how fast that rear wheel is actually going as we're hitting these numbers. These are always going to read a little bit higher than you would actually get on the road because we don't have any aerodynamic drag and we're not actually propelling the weight of a person forward. And then the RPM is just the RPM of that drum that's being spun up. All right, we are logging data now. So the first thing I gotta do is shift into first gear. Now this is only the second mid-drive bike that I have tested, but the BBSHD bike, we found that we were able to get the max torque and the max wattage both in first gear. I think that could be dependent on gearing of a bike. So we're gonna do a run where we shift through all of the gears, run the power all the way up, and then I'll probably do a pull in first gear, compare those two sets of data, and if it looks like that's our best case scenario, we'll run with that. If it looks like we might be making more power in second gear, then we'll do some additional runs. Also will be interesting to see what's of RPM we can get up to. The Foxbat with the BBSHD spun up the fastest. It was well over 900 RPM. Oh man.
I have to interrupt before I do the dyno run because this is not a stock Bafang M560 motor. So the stock Bafang motor is what I said, rated for 750 watts. But this one has been modified both with new firmware and a little bit of new hardware. So it's not a totally new controller, but it does have some things inside that are updated. Now, I can't tell you, unfortunately, at this point in time, where I got the motor from. I was asked not to release that information at this point in time. Once this goes on the board of all of our bike tests, I am going to put this into the aftermarket category, only because there is not a bike that exists right now that you can actually buy with this motor. So 750 watts is what we would expect from the normal M560. What this version's gonna do, let's just say I was pleasantly surprised.
This is powerful. .600 RPM, still pulling 1,300 watts at speeds of 35 miles an hour. Torque has faded off quite a bit. All right, that's max speed, that's 11th gear. Still accelerating. I think we're gonna hit 900 RPM. Question is, how much higher is it gonna go? Looks like this thing will go really fast down a hill. 50 miles an hour on the speed unloaded. Well, actually, it's not unloaded. We're still pulling about 300 watts right now. Are we gonna hit 1,000 RPM? That would be insane. It's so close. Come on. 990. You can do it. 96, 97, 98, 1,000 RPM. I did not think that was possible. So our power is basically down to zero. Our torque is barely anything. The RPM is still ever so slightly increasing, but that's definitely max speed. We're not gonna get much more than that. Whew. That wheel is cooking 53 miles an hour right there. Okay, so now I'm gonna shift down to first gear. So I'm not gonna shift gears at all this time. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. Look at that torque. I don't think I hit as many watts that time around. So let's shift into second. That feels pretty good. Oh yeah, that's awesome. So because that was higher, I'm going to shift into third gear and do another pull. I think I got more power. I don't know. That third gear was pretty solid. Okay, that's about it. Let's go into fourth. Look at that bike hunker down. 1,000 watts, 1,300 watts, 1,400 watts, 1,500 watts. I think that was a little less than third. So I think we got a little less peak power and a little less torque in fourth gear. I think we got the data that we need. I might not have got the max of everything in first. I think we actually had to use a few of those first gears. Let's stop it. Let's see what we got. Take your guesses right now. It was a quick flash on the screen. What was the max power? I know it was over 1,500 watts. Where did that end up? And where was the torque? I swear I thought I saw more than 40 foot-pounds. Now, we have to bear in mind, this isn't a one-to-one comparison to the BBSHD motor because it was running a fat, knobby tire. And I am gonna do a future video on that where we compare different tires and see how much power do you lose for tread, for the width of the tire, for tire pressure. But I really want to test bikes the way they come out of the box right now. I will be doing a future test on this with a knobby tire. So if you're looking for that sort of data, how does it compare directly to an M600 side by side on the same exact bike with the same exact tire tread? I am going to do that in a future video very soon. All right, let's pause it and see what is the max. There it is, 1.509 kilowatts and 43.16 foot-pounds of torque. I am very interested to see how the bigger, beefier Bafang Ultra compares to this little light motor. All right, let's take a look at the charts. So here's gonna be run number 1, where I went through all the gears. You can see first gear, each one of these peaks is a gear, because when I shift, we drop the power down. But if this is first gear, then we were only getting up to 0.87 kilowatts, so about 870 watts in first gear, and about 41 foot-pounds of torque. we still made a lot of torque in first gear. Second gear, it appears we made the most torque. This first run, we got 42.6 foot-pounds, and we were still increasing in power. That was 1.3 kilowatts, which is just as much as the Blackbird with the 750 watt rear hub and just as much as the BBS HD, but it was still ramping up quickly at that point, and it looks like we got max power of 1500 watts in third gear. Now, mind you, this is the power at the wheel. There's got to be some efficiency loss in the gearing inside, the drivetrain. So however this thing is tuned, it can draw more than 1500 watts. That's a guaranteed, because we're getting that to the ground, which is pretty awesome. Now from there, this is what we have always been seeing so far. Torque starts dropping off pretty quick. The wattage stays fairly steady. It is declining slowly. Some of these other bikes hold that peak power a little bit longer, but even then, later in the run, I mean, right here, that's almost 1300 watts. So you're getting 13 to 1500 watts through almost all of the gears. It's not until you get up to basically the top 2 gears that you get down to like 1000 watts, which is still plenty of power. So that's run number 1. So these 4 results should be first, second, third, and fourth gear. Let me see if I can get all 4 of these on the screen at the same time. Fourth gear was actually closer to the peak power than I thought it was. So first gear, just confirming, 42.8, 42.97, almost 43 foot-pounds, and once again, our max was 43.16. So you can get the max torque in first gear. Wattage-wise, we're getting up to just shy of 1300 watts, 12 to 1300 watts. It gives you a little more power in second gear. Then we got up to over 1400 watts, 1.43. But we did lose, oh no, we didn't lose. And then we had a brief spike of that max peak foot-pounds of torque, 43 foot-pounds in second gear. Third gear, we got max power over 1500 watts. In fact, it is rounding it on here to 1.51, even though I didn't on the board. And then we're still getting 43 foot-pounds of torque in third gear. Coming up to fourth gear, we started to lose torque. We're now at 41 foot-pounds, and surprisingly, still at 1.5. So it peaked out in both third and fourth gear at 1500 watts. But in fourth gear, we were starting to taper off on the torque. So I would say third and fourth gear are like the sweet spot. That's where this thing is making maximum power. So 43 foot-pounds is 58.3 Newton meters. That is the highest number we've had on anything by far. If you want one of these motors to put in a bike that you already have that has the M600, leave a comment below. Let me know. I'm thinking I need to get some of these in our hands. I think that'll be an awesome, super easy upgrade. If you want to see a video where we compare those 2 motors side by side on an identical bike, something with knobby tires, something that's maybe not set up for perfect conditions. So we're going to see what this motor does on a mountain bike tire, and then we're going to see how it compares one-to-one, same exact bike with the Bafang M600. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're working on that video right now. I forgot something. We only have this one bike. Now I've got one more video we have to do with it, but after that, we're gonna sell this bike. It is the ultimate commuter. Insanely fast, insanely powerful, especially for the weight, but it's also full suspension. Everything has been dialed in to be super comfortable. This thing can tackle anything. It even has a really high-end Brooks saddle. If you want basically the best saddle money can buy, that's a Brooks. That's it right there. Commuter bars that are not only comfortable, but you have extra mounting points. It's just an awesome bike, all the way down to the Duroc rims. These are 27.5 rims and tires with those awesome Schwalbe Moto X tires on there. If you're interested in buying it, make sure to reach out to us at Area 13. This one-of-a-kind, super powerful commuter bike could be yours. Now this is what you have for the next video, the Bike Tricks XD, which claims to have 2,000 watts.